first in high definition from the station on your side. This is WAVY News 10. Amazing stories from the aftermath of this horrific scene.
And I saw the wing come off the jet right in front of me, and the jet came to the ground and then exploded in the right in the complex.
Courageous acts in the midst of terror.
Four of the guys had picked up the pilot. He was in shock, but he said, "I'm sorry for destroying your home."
Incredible eyewitness accounts from the ground and incomprehensible damage as seen only from Chopper 10, high above it all.
And tonight we do have the very latest on that Navy jet crash. The Navy says it was caused by a, quote, catastrophic mechanical malfunction of the aircraft. Despite the damage, no one was killed.
And new tonight, the military has canceled all flight operations out of NAS Oceana for the weekend. The Navy says a student pilot was at the controls when the FA-18 jet went down, an experienced instructor in the back seat. Here's what we know tonight. The crash happened just after noon today. The location, Mayfair Mews apartment complex off Bird Neck Road. Property managers there have not been able to get in touch with 3 residents. However, there are no reports of any missing people. 7 people were hurt in the accident. 6 have already been released from the hospital, including both aviators. 40 units here were destroyed.
Only 10 on your side got inside one of those damaged apartment buildings. You'll see that video in just a moment, but first, this from a Navy captain about the investigation.
Shortly after takeoff, initial indications are that aircraft suffered a catastrophic mechanical malfunction, the specifics of which I don't want to speculate on. However, it resulted in the forced ejection of that aircrew. Both of those aircrew ejected safely. The front seater was a student pilot. The back seater was an experienced instructor.
Captain Weisgerber also said that most of the flying they do as NAS Oceana is training in preparation for their efforts out in the fleet. Now, they learned everything from basic piloting to advanced tactics. Both pilots suffered minor injuries, and they both live here locally.
We just got these pictures from inside the crash site, and they really show how intense those flames were from the accident. This fire, though, could have been much worse. The Navy says the pilots dumped loads of fuel to avoid even a bigger explosion. Now, here is where the jet went down in relation to the APZ zone, or accident potential zone. You can see it came close to the runway, indicated by the line there. You see people living in these areas understand there was a certain risk involved.
And we have team coverage tonight. 10 on your side's Jason Marks is live just outside that apartment complex in Virginia Beach.
And 10 on your side's Ann McNamara right at the Mayfair Mews apartments. Both have been gathering new information in the last several hours. We're going to start with Jason, who actually went inside one of the damaged units tonight. Jason?
Yeah, Tom, and you just saw that damage. Now, fire officials are working to find out if that damage was caused by the crash or by the fire. I can tell you fire officials have made contact with all the residents but 3. We're told those 3 are still unaccounted for. Now, they have searched that building the 3 live in. They've searched it once and also a second time. Still haven't found those 3 people. Fire officials say they are continuing to search other areas, but some other areas are hard to get to because of a collapse. Friday night, crews continue to sift through the wreckage at the Mayfair Mews apartment complex. Fire officials say all but 3 residents have been accounted for. On the other side of that destroyed building is a Navy FA-18 Hornet.
There were 2 massive explosions.
All of a sudden, we heard a series of probably 8 to 10 booms, and we were like, okay, that's real close, because it shook our house, broke our windows.
The booms were followed by flames and thick, dark smoke.
It's pretty horrific, you know, not much to say.
It was a start to the holiday weekend no one will forget.
And I initially thought it was a gas explosion, and somebody had already been outside and told me that it was a jet that crashed.
Navy officials say the plane had just left Oceana. The 2-man crew was performing a training mission. A student pilot was in the front seat and an experienced instructor in the back. They had intended to go over the Atlantic when something went wrong.
Initial indications are that aircraft suffered a catastrophic mechanical malfunction.
Witnesses say the pilots waited to the last minute before they ejected. The plane landed in the apartment complex courtyard. Eddie Hosey grabbed his camera and started rolling.
I immediately saw the 2 parachutes from the ejected pilots.
The pilots, along with 5 others, were rushed to Virginia Beach General. Hospital officials say everyone suffered minor injuries. All but 1 pilot were treated and released. Back at the scene, there are so many unanswered questions. How many hours of flight time did the student pilot have under his belt? Could anything have been done differently? And most of all, what caused the crash?
There will be a full investigation, as always, as there is in any aircraft mishap.
Virginia Beach rescue crews say amazingly no one up to this point was killed. One of the buildings did collapse, and that section they can't get to because of safety concerns. And we're told teams are trying to search that collapsed area. We're told they're going to be working around the clock. Tomorrow morning is when the hard work really begins, and that's when they're going to start trying to figure out exactly how this crash happened. Guys, back to you.
All right, we appreciate it. Of course, Jason, we do want to know, how do they actually plan to do the searching for more?
Yeah, Alvita, I talked to Chief Riley from the Virginia Beach Fire Department a short time ago. He tells me this is a layer sort of search, and what that means is, as you can imagine, a lot of debris is piled up. They're going to be sort of stripping away the layers, going layer by layer until they can get to the bottom. I've done several stories on this as these sort of exercises in the past. Obviously, this is a real exercise. This is really happening. What they'll do is, as they go each layer, they'll run a human sniffing dog over there, and if they scent anything, if they get some sort of pickup, they'll go and they'll really focus on that area. Of course, that is going to be happening around the clock until they can get to the bottom.
All right, we will keep watching this too.
Good to know.
Jason Marks reporting live from the scene. Our team coverage continues now with 10 on your side's Ann McNamara.
And you talked to some residents at the apartment complex already.
Alvita, for those who live here, things are starting to get back to normal. Bird Neck Road has reopened, and also many are being let back into their apartments after watching that FA-18 Hornet come crashing down. Jet noise is synonymous with this part of Virginia Beach, but those who live here knew this time was different.
Basically, it's cloud, billowing cloud of black smoke. It wasn't so much of a seeing, it was more of a hearing.
It sounded like it was going, ooh, like a noise like that, and then I heard a boom. And the whole building shook and everything.
Back door to my house, which is right over here, the glass just shattered and threw glass from the back all the way to the front of the house. And I was like, that's something serious.
This woman lives inside the Mayfair Mews apartment complex.
I saw the big explosion off of our balcony, and I just grabbed Em and we just left.
Her daughter, Emily.
She said, "Come on, Emily, get your cat, let's go." And we ran out the door.
Most people who live here didn't know what they were running from. An FA-18 out on a training mission, a student pilot in the front, an experienced pilot in the back. It appears they waited until the last second to eject their seats, judging by where they landed.
The ejection seat actually came from the crash site, hit this tree, and there's some branches that are down over there. That one actually had the pilot in it.
One pilot in the seat, the other in a parachute that got tangled with a building on the way down.
Saw a pilot laying on the ground. His parachute still connected to the building. I ran over and did a body survey to see about his injuries.
Pat Kavanaugh asked the bloody pilot, "Are you okay?" His response so touching, everyone around here knows it by heart.
He said, "I'm sorry I destroyed your home."
But amid the extensive damage, stories of resilience, the little things, like a dog making it out alive.
Thank you so much. I'm
very welcome.
Worried to death about her.
And the hope all the people inside did too.
Sorry, take your time. My son called, and I told him I was all right. I'll think about this tonight.
He'll think about it tonight. We all are thinking about it tonight. The number of people still unaccounted for, 3. And here's how they get that number. There's a list of people who live in those apartment complexes. What happens is the fire department tries to contact them with the numbers listed. Again, in some cases, people live there and aren't listed, or they might be away overseas in the military. So people call the hotline, say, "We are missing so-and-so," and then they call back and say, "No, we found them." So that number shifts. Right now, we're at 3. That's how many people are unaccounted for. But Virginia Beach Fire Department and wants people to know that that does not mean there are missing persons reports out there. 3 unaccounted for, no one reported missing. I'm Ann McNamara, 10 on your side.
And the Navy will be at the Quality Inn on 22nd Street tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. to take claims for personal injury or property damage from today's crash. Anyone who was hurt or whose home was damaged must fill out those forms to start the compensation process. We have definitely put a link on our website, WAVY.com. The jet crashed in a high-density area, and there were a lot of witnesses. 10 on your side's Art Khan talked to a man who actually helped the pilot after he ejected. Listen to his emotional account.
I was home. I heard 3 loud bangs. I'm not going to call them explosions. It's just something I haven't heard before. And I got up, went out my sliding door out of my kitchen, and saw a pilot laying on the ground, his parachute still connected to the building. I ran over and did a body survey to see about his injuries. He had some blood coming out of his nose. I made sure he didn't have any broken bones. He apologized for crashing into our complex, and I chuckled and told him, don't worry about it. We're alive, and we'll get you out of here as fast as we can. Had some other neighbors come by, and we picked him up, and we dragged him to the around to the side parking lot away from the fire. This heavy black smoke was coming over the building, and I knew we just had a matter of time. I didn't know where the fire was, but I knew we had to get out of there. And if it wasn't for the other residents there and bystanders to help, it would have been something different.
Kavanaugh is a retired emergency technician himself. Breaking news now in Norfolk. Police are on the scene of a double homicide. 2 people have been killed in a Ballantyne Boulevard near the intersection of East Princess Anne Road. Dispatchers got the first 911 calls about 9:45 tonight. There's no word how the victims died. We do have a crew heading to the scene. Look for the latest on tomorrow morning on WAVY News 10 starting at 6 a.m.
Today's crash brings up the conversation about encroachment around NAS Oceana. Are developments too close? Hear what the Virginia Beach mayor has to say about it.
Our coverage of today's Navy jet crash continues after the break, but first, here's a look at some of the amazing still pictures of that accident.
Our coverage of today's Navy jet crash continues tonight. The accident brings into question about development around NAS Oceana. Listen to Virginia Beach Mayor Will Sessoms.
First of all, we have a tremendous partnership with the Navy, a tremendous partnership, and we're addressing encroachments. We've done a wonderful job addressing encroachments around Oceana. I've lived in Virginia Beach 58 years my entire life. I remember other plane crashes, jet crashes. One when I was a young person, this population wasn't 50,000 people, but a jet went into a house. I remember one a few years ago where the jet went over the hotel line, got in the ocean, but the pilots landed in a tree on 24th Street. This is Virginia Beach. Oceana's a big part of Virginia Beach. Jets fly in this city. We train for situations like this, and we pray they don't occur. Regrettably, today it occurred, but our training is paid off by the wonderful work that our first responders have done along with our citizens.
As Mayor Sessoms pointed out, this is not the first Navy jet crash near Oceana. Let's look at one back from 1986. 2 pilots and a pregnant woman in her car died. The A6E intruder, crashed after takeoff here. The woman was driving her car at the time, and witnesses say the plane's tail was on fire. By the way, the Navy retired the A6E intruder in 1997.
Residents who can't get back to their homes can find comfort at the Bird Neck Elementary School. The Red Cross has set up a shelter at the school on South Bird Neck Road. We're told they were expecting as many as 63 residents. Volunteers have set up plenty of beds. Crews are also making hot meals for the victims. And the City of Virginia Beach Animal Care and Adoption Center is taking in pets. It's located at 341 South Bird Neck Road. But do keep in mind the shelter is only taking in pets for the residents in that jet crash impact.
And a lot of you are asking, is there anything I can do to help? In fact, there is. The Red Cross is helping more than 20 people who lost their homes today. As we reported, 40 apartment units were destroyed from this plane crash. The pictures tell the story. You can help by donating to the Red Cross so they have the resources to help the victims. But police also want to remind you, if you're in the area and see any plane debris, don't touch it. Tampering with jet wreckage is a federal offense. Instead, call this number, 385-5000, or better yet, call 911 to report it.
Now, in high definition, your Super Dapper 10 forecast with Chief Meteorologist Don Slater.
Super Dapper 10 live. Skies are clear as a bell throughout the region right now. Winds have dropped on down, but I do want to show you something about the winds from earlier today. We did have northerly winds for the day today, and here is Oceana. And when planes take off, they have to take off with their wings. They have to head into the wind. So we had a northerly wind. So here's the runway that they were using. And again, heading right straight on out in that direction. Of course, with that being the case, and again, it is assumed that mechanical problems caused the problem, and of course the crash, and there's where that area is. That's where the apartment complex is that really got torn up. So again, that's where the crash happened. And again, right now skies are clear, nothing's going on, very quiet, and certainly no rainfall, and really we're not looking at much in the way of cloud cover at all. That's moved on off, even off the Outer Banks. Northerly winds at 10 to 15 miles an hour, but farther inland, hardly a breath of wind coming in out of the north. So near the Chesapeake Bay especially, again, the Chesapeake Bay shores on the south side face directly right on up to that warmer water. So it's going to hold your temperature up a bit overnight along the north-facing beaches of the Chesapeake Bay. 10 to 20 mile an hour winds tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning's high tide not as high, and really each successive high tide through the weekend. Tomorrow morning at 9, 10 o'clock, and then tomorrow night, each of those tides should be a little bit lower. Lots of sunshine for tomorrow. Winds drop on off. Then they kind of switch around a little bit overnight and into Sunday. Sunday, a west to northwesterly wind to start the day. There's where we are at the noon hour. And by the end of the day, a southwesterly wind. So lots of sunshine tomorrow. And it's going to warm up a little bit for tomorrow. And then for the day on Sunday, it'll warm up a lot more, but with some cloud cover during the evening hours. Now, a stray shower, sure, it could happen, but not real likely with the passage of that cool front on Sunday night. Now, look at our tower cam, and there's some boat traffic, and again, some air traffic and car traffic. And right now, we've got temperatures basically around the 41, 42 degree mark, 41, but warmer in Norfolk again because of the breeze coming in off the Chesapeake Bay. Here are the low temperatures over the past 24 hours. I want to show you what's going on overnight. It's going to get colder, especially where the wind has dropped off. Near the coastline, it's about as cold as it's going to get for the Outer Banks. 39, 42, then 34, 35 inland, 35 to 40 for the peninsula, and for the Middle Peninsula, Northern Neck, Eastern Shore, basically around 35 degrees. Again, that wind near the coastline up to about 10 to 15, but farther inland, not much wind at all. And we are looking again at 63 degrees, 70 degrees on Sunday, and cooled off a little bit into next week. Have a great holiday weekend.
You too. And still to come, incredible stories of nearby residents who were the first to hear that something wasn't right.
And as we head to break, we see more pictures from the scene.
Back now with more on that Navy jet crash in Virginia Beach. Throughout the day, there were dozens of stories of shock and sadness as those nearby began to learn what happened.
It's a day that many of you will never forget, and here's what a few told 10 on Your Side shortly after that jet went down.
There were two massive explosions. One, I'm assuming, was the initial impact, and then the other one was, I'm assuming probably a gas line or maybe just the fuel line in the tank, and it's pretty horrific.
Parachute coming down from the sky for the pilots, and that was kind of scary. I said, "Oh my God, it's a jet!" Then,
and all of a sudden, I saw stuff start fly off the plane. I realized at that point it was the catapult top.
And then it's just a big mushroom cloud and pure black smoke. And I couldn't believe what was going on. And I was like, what happened? He's like, I don't know.
In all of this, what many are calling the Good Friday miracle, nobody reported killed.
Be sure to tune in to WAVY News 10 today, beginning tomorrow morning at 6 for continuing coverage. We have the very latest developments on the Navy jet crash. You'll find the very latest developments on WAVY.com.
A former Masters champion makes a surge down in Augusta. And could the Admirals keep the streak alive? They went for 24 in a row. We'll let you know how they did next on the Sports Wrap.
A little chill in the air, but it's Easter weekend.
Yeah, it's going to drop overnight into the upper 30s in a lot of areas and low 40s right along the water's edge. A little warmer tomorrow, a lot warmer for Easter Sunday and Monday, a little cooler for Tuesday through Friday. So again, chilly start to the day.
And don't forget, of course, watch tomorrow morning on WAVY News 10 at 6 for that Navy jet crash. More on that as well as on WAVY.com.
Jeff Edmondson and David Culver with you tomorrow morning. Have a good night.